Nantucket Memorial Airport started out as really a farm where local people brought planes, and it was a level strip. The farmhouse was located pretty much where the airport is today. Not much has changed as far as location.
My husband's name was Sandy Craig. His real name was Alexander, but he was always known as Sandy Craig on the island. The aviation scene was fairly quiet back in those days because it was fairly new. My husband learned to fly at the airport here. He was taught by a man named David Robb. David lived out on this farmland. I think it belonged to a man named Leslie Home. And he started a small airport out there, and it became very popular with the people who were interested in aviation at that time.
It gradually became more and more used, and it never really became an official airport until sometime just before World War II. Then the Navy came in during World War II and used this as an auxiliary base, really, for planes that were participating in bombing and strafing practice. After World War II, the town decided that they would change the name of Nantucket Airport to Nantucket Memorial Airport as a tribute to those people in World War II who had paid the ultimate price.
It was a small rural airport after the war, and continued that way for a long time. When my kids were growing up in the 80s, in the early 80s, there still was no hurricane fence around the field. There was just a little chest-high fence that kids could stand on the back of a chair and look over. As the tourism increased in the 70s and 80s, and towards the end of the 80s, we got a lot busier, and we had to build protection to protect the planes and protect the passengers. So what you have today is with the hurricane fences and barbed wire on the top. So it's quite a different airport than it was then, although the physical layout is not particularly different.
We're about the 154th busiest airport in the country. We do about 278,000 enplanements, which would mean that we have well over 500,000 people that go through the airport every year. Many people wonder where ACK came from. It's one of those trademarks, and it's an indicator that the FAA uses to identify every airport in the country. The rumors were it came from Ackerman's farm. The farm here was not Ackerman's, and there are a lot of other stories about how it came about, but the essence of it is the FAA uses a nomenclature where they don't allow N to be used. So they went to the next letter, which is A, and then after that they did the CK, and it is just strictly some bureaucrat in Washington indicating that for Nantucket. The airport is really a symbol of a lot of individual people who have been enthusiasts of aviation, and through their contribution, the airport today is respected throughout the country.